Hey everybody, this is Kurt Orszak from the Bad Penny website. I always forget the URL, which is never a good thing. I think it's thebadpennyblog.com. Might just be actually badpennyblog.com. But
Good to know.
neither here nor there, I suppose. Welcome to another edition. This is probably going to be like the 110th one or something like that, of On Tyranny. And for those of you who are not aware, it's a series in which I interview musicians from across the world, and talk to them about how living under an authoritarian regime, autocratic regime, tyrannical regime, how that affects them as an artist, and you know how how they have to kind of abide by certain rules. Maybe they try to break rules, that kind of stuff. Um, I started out this series by interviewing bands like UA, like from Belarus, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and all that stuff. But then about 9 months ago now, when shit really started to get fucking insane in this country, I switched gears and started talking with American artists to see how they're coping with what's going on. Um, so that's the gist of it. I'm really, really excited to have join us today Justin Smith of a fantastic band called Sweat. You guys are, let me see, just about 6 years old right now, right? 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right
yep.
on. Um,
Just before COVID, the first 7 inch came out, the week of lockdown.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, yeah. How did,
Yeah,
well, yeah, I do want to get to that. Um,
but
but before I do, I just want to say, yeah, and we can go over the plugs at the end too, but you've got a new record coming out, Tear It On Down, coming April 3rd on your very own Vitriol Records. Um,
yes.
I've listened to it a bunch of times. Fucking love it.
Well, thanks.
There's something about Justin Pearson who's I don't know what you call him at this point, a jack of all trades, musicians and publicists and everything else. But it seems like whenever he sends me something like his way, it's like always dynamite, and you guys are absolutely no
No,
exceptions.
thank you.
Um,
Appreciate that.
yeah, man. Yeah, it's and I just we'll get into this, I hope, but I just I think there's so much to be said for bands that can still have like a personality and have fun, with everything that's
Yeah,
going on. And so I find it a joy to listen to your music. And it's also cool because then when you dig into the lyrics, which I've done quite a bit of, you know, uh the subject matter isn't always entertaining. So it's
love
kind of
that.
it's kind of a cool thing. I guess to start with, okay, all right, so I have a few icebreakers. Are you ready for these?
Sure.
Um, uh, what number am I thinking of right now?
50.
No, 30, because that's the number of days until your record release.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good for me to know, I guess.
Yeah. I hope the other Justin warned you that I can be kind of corny. Um, are you were you up on the Prince Andrew arrest by any chance?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, he claimed that he lost the ability to sweat. Do you believe that?
No, unless you have some like highly specific like physiological problem. But I I find that probably like a last ditch effort to not be, like kicked out of the monarchical house that he's probably already been.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a real last ditch effort. Um, and the other thing I wanted to ask you was like, um, and don't take this the wrong way, but like I'm kind of surprised. This is your fourth LP, right?
Third,
Um,
third LP.
oh, third LP. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, I hadn't heard of you guys before. Were you kind of keeping a low profile? Were you doing your own stuff before?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty DIY. There's this is a third LP, and there's two 7 inches also, because we've been pretty productive since I guess the first 7 inch came out in March of 2020.
Mhm.
But the first LP was actually on Pirates Press Records, which was like
Yeah.
their label version, and I have like a long history with them from pressing stuff since they started pressing stuff in like 2005, 2006. And then one of my friends from Revelation that Justin also knows moved to Pirates Press as a label. So they did the first record, but it's mostly like, I don't know, it's a little bit white noise. It's hard getting the word out on projects that aren't, like we kind of do our own things. We book our own tours. We don't have a booking agent. We don't have a manager. Like I put the records out. One of the guys that plays in the band sometimes has a studio in Oakland. He does the recordings. It's like Justin does the PR. So
Yeah.
it's pretty in house, but we've been able to do quite a bit. We've done a lot of like East Coast, West Coast tours. We played Mexico, Japan, Europe. We've gone around quite a bit,
Oh, cool.
but
Right.
it is still underground, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Were you able to learn, some of the skills that you just mentioned by virtue of you having a record label? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm 43 now, and I started playing when I was 17, I guess, shows, and then I've been touring since I was 19 in various bands, and
yeah.
it was at first like a matter of necessity, but then it kind of became a choice because I like doing like layouts that are worth having. I like doing stuff that looks cool and the art is involved. And I don't want someone to tell me that it's too expensive. And I put stuff out on other labels in the past, in the mid aughts,
Yeah.
some of my previous bands, but I'd rather walk in my garage and just have the records there. And then, no one can tell me anything.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yes, through the process of DIY, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And yeah, I occasionally run into artists who are very serious about the artwork and I was looking at some really cool album artwork today for just randomly, and it's like it really draws you in, and it also is a reflection of like the intricacy and the interestingness of what you're going to listen to. So,
Yeah,
um,
there's one record that I put out. It was a 10 inch in 2013 or 2011, and it turns into a boombox. It's a 30 by 10 by 10 boombox, and
wait,
it ended up.
physically, like
Yeah,
physically,
yeah,
oh my God, sorry.
yeah. It's cool. Actually, the record release show was with one of Justin's bands back in the day, but it
Yeah.
was it ended up on a bunch of hip hop websites because it's like a 90s boombox, but it was a grindcore band. So, but one time we made a record that looked like a target and then took them out in the desert and shot a bunch of holes in them. Like, I don't know, you can do whatever. No one can tell you what, and I think now in a world that's like the new generations have come up almost solely listening to things online, that if even now, like if I buy something, I want it to be worth buying and I want to make stuff worth having. Like if you're gonna take a bunch of petrochemicals and turn them into a record, that might half of the press might end up in a landfill anyways. You better make it worth having. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I actually get kind of pissed now that I see, like bands have been around a long time and they might have had their own labels and they kind of like now they're like Propaganda, for instance. They're like on Epitaph. And I saw one of their latest releases. I'm like, it's just like the jacket. It's like the cheapest version that you can get. Like, just make the paper thicker. Like, make a tip-on sleeve. Like, you're gonna sell them anyways. There's
Right.
almost no risk in a band that people like already. So just make it good. But I
Right.
think people outsource that to labels and someone that they're not really maybe intimately connected with,
Right.
which is a bummer.
Are you familiar with the Sentient Ruin Laboratories by chance?
I don't think so. What is
Yeah.
that?
Well,
Art?
it's just it's a guy who like represses um the vinyl and CDs that went out of stock, but he really liked them.
That's
And
cool.
but his twist is that he puts a lot of time and care into the art of it. But I also can't help but think when you're talking about the artwork of Metallica's Black Album, that was
I mean, it's definitely iconic. with
It's okay.
the Gadsden flag on the front. I've been lucky enough that in one of the bands I was in for 20 years, it was called Grop Warlock. The drummer um, did a lot of crazy art, and we're working on a book right now of all that art, and he still does stuff with the label, and
Oh no shit.
I've gotten super lucky in that regard
Yeah.
because like that's one of the biggest regrets I have is not learning how to use Photoshop
Oh
in
yeah.
my life.
I know. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but if you had learned like, well, Photoshop has stood the test of time, but if you had like gotten really into like, what was it like, Quark and all that kind of stuff,
Oh yeah, yeah,
it would have gone away. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the argument is that 20 years ago, people were like just learn to code, and now there's like an AI that will code, and your job is non-existent. So, it's a debate, of course.
yeah, totally. Um, so there's a whole bunch of questions that I wanted to ask you about lyrics, but I'm thinking before we get into that, um, I wanted to pick your brain about hardcore.
Yeah,
And because I think it's an interesting topic of conversation, and I have it with some other musicians, but everybody's got kind of a different point of view, and I'd really like to hear yours, because I think your initial tagline when you started the band was you wanted it to be a bastardization of rock and roll and hardcore. I think is
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. And so to, to what do you attribute the bastardization? Is it the fact that corporations have like co-opted it, or is it like um, the fact that it's kind of lost a lot of its political edge that it used to have, or
I think, well, across the board, probably both. But my original thought about it was a bastardization of the sound, rather, because, like, to me, the things that, there are classic bands that play a certain style of hardcore, but they're usually like the, the genesis of that version of hardcore. Like, there might be a band that in the past, I don't know, I'm not like the biggest Converge fan, but
Mhm.
Converge. There's a bunch of bands that wanted to sound like Converge. There's a bunch of bands that wanted to sound like Dillinger Escape Plan at some point. And then you go all the way back, and there are a bunch of bands of younger kids that are like 20 now, starting bands that sound like Gorilla Biscuits. And so at some point, it's like you're becoming this kind of like simulacra of the things that had previously existed. And I like the idea of being a hardcore band that plays like a hardcore band when you play live, but like brings in stuff from like I don't know, kind of Swami style down picking stuff. Like we all love Thin Lizzy, and like mixing all those things into a heavy band that when people go and see you, you play like a hardcore band.
Mhm,
To
mhm.
me that's exciting. It's like you can have a lot of variation of sound, but you just go and rip. And
Yeah,
then people are forced to make a decision whether they definitely like you or they don't like ripping. So
yeah. That's sort of an indication of like audience engagement, though, too, right? I mean,
yeah,
like you
and it's
know,
hard sometimes to like get people to care. I mean, there's like I was saying before, there's so much kind of white noise, and definitely the digestion of music has changed over time. I was thinking about this today that you should go to record stores and see like see also, and then check out that record, or it'd be like someone thanked in a record, a band that toured with the band that had a connection but wasn't necessarily musical. It was like maybe a scene or something like that. But you found a bunch of weird stuff, and even in the early '90s, I mean, there were shows where you would go and see they're like just a straight up vegan straight edge hardcore band with a ska band and some other band. That's just how shows were.
sure.
Not for better or worse, but now that kind of timeline of the trajectory of music has been like compressed into like a playlist or
Right.
something, and I think the relationship to it's different. So, like,
Yeah.
I liked, I'm, I guess I'm grateful now, being the age I am, that it took, and I'm not trying to be like a gatekeeper person, but it took work to find the stuff that I like, and it's
Yeah.
why I still like it.
Hell, man. Hell yeah, man. I got used to send away for a Touch and Go's catalog, like a physical catalog, in high
Yeah,
school. you take a chance on some bands that sounded with cool names, or you'd read the credits in the back of like an album you like and kind of go from
Yeah,
there. But yeah, but there's a little bit of work involved, you know?
I remember. I live in outside LA. I live in like North Orange County now, and
Yeah.
I work in Huntington Beach, which is like pretty funny. But I was in because Huntington Beach is above all things like a fascist city. But
Yeah.
I was this morning. I was at Revelation Records because I distro stuff there, and I was like, I know I've friends there for a long time, and I'm like, I had brought up once. I was like, in like '98, I ordered 5 records. It took 2 months to get them. I'm like 10 miles away, right? It took 2 months to get them, and half of them were wrong because they were out of them. So like, oh, maybe we'll listen to this. And I heard other things I liked, but that was the style at the time.
So it wasn't like you picked up one of those grab bags with the question mark on it that
Yeah,
records
it
case
felt
of.
like it. Felt like it sometimes. And I mean that was a risk, and you were kind of careful about you would take a you would take a risk, but sometimes you were careful because you like I can buy 1 record this week, and you would go and be like, I hope it doesn't suck.
Oh yeah. But dude, when the record didn't suck, it was like gold and you felt so good, you know? It was
Yeah,
just
it paid off. And
yeah.
sometimes the thing that got you was like the connection to other bands or the artwork or the label that it might have been on. Like there's a bunch of bands that I heard just from the label connection, which I think to me now, this Sweat record, this release, and the next one that I just put off the press today is the 77th and 78th release that I've done since 2009. And
Say that
like
again? So you
it's the
cut out.
77th and 78th release since 2009.
Oh
So I'm
wow.
like 16 years in, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like that, like this band's kind of like more like sounds like Archers of Loaf, and this band sounds like a grind band. And I did a 7 inch for Misery Index that's connected with Dying Fetus. It's like the connection is the relationship, which I really like because it's not the sound. And even when I'm at work, I teach history at a college. That's why I was at a board meeting. I
Oh cool, man.
was talking to someone at work, and they were asking me about like, oh, what kind of bands are you in? And I'm like, I don't know, like punk bands. And then you have to explain to them that like to me, punk is the way you do things, not the way it sounds.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
like and they're like, okay, whatever, let's stop talking.
Yeah. 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 Just a couple more questions before we get into the album. Do you feel like hard part of it also part of the popularity of hardcore now is it doesn't take itself as seriously as it used to?
Maybe I think the popularity is more like after COVID, there's a phenomenon, or during COVID, that like TikTok had really spurred a lot of these bands that came out of COVID and were huge,
Hmm.
like bigger than bands that had toured for years, just because of that connection. And I think, and this went for my older band that I mentioned too, that was like really aggressively like super heavy, but people can see that you're like a serious band, but you're having fun. You're like fucking around with each other, and you're like, it's the experience is different. It's different for us, and it's different for people who are like, oh, this rules. Like they actually like doing this
Yeah.
because if you're going to spend however many days driving or flying or whatever you're going to do, it's like you better be there for the right reasons. It's not you're not making a lot of money doing this shit. So,
True.
like,
True
but
enough.
I think it goes a long way. Like your relationship, just the personality of you as people, and
Hmm.
as people that enjoy playing together and are kind of like inherently funny because of that, I think goes a long way to connecting with the people watching you in a weird way.
Hmm.
So I don't think hardcore is less serious or more serious now. I think that maybe it's somewhat more accessible because of that stuff. Like I definitely have seen some like huge shows lately,
Yeah.
like of people, but I don't know. I don't know the answer. I guess
Yeah.
it's my
No, no.
answer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, so one thing that really stood out to me about this record and is that it's got a real interplay or balance between anger and love.
Mhm.
And I'm curious at how that came about. if this is too personal, don't feel like you have to ask.
No,
But
no.
did you have you had kids recent years?
Uh, so I want to say something before I
Yeah,
answer this question. I'm aware, I'm very informed about the lyrics, but Tuna, the singer, wrote them.
I'm sorry.
But
Yeah, yeah,
I can
yeah,
speak to them. I'm the music guy. But
yeah. Sorry, man.
I do not have kids. I
Okay.
am sometimes I get asked that, and I tell people I would deal with the tail end of bad parenting with college students, so I stay away from it. But
Gotcha.
no, I have dogs. But to speak to your observation about love and I forget the word they used, like
Anger. Yeah.
anger. To me, that thing that, and I'm just answering this for myself, that combination of those two things is despair to me.
Mm,
And I think that if I was qualifying the lyrics or like the topics of the songs in any way, that's the word I would use. And because it is one of those things where it's like, it's not necessarily like existential nihilism or something, but it is saying that like this stuff is terrible, but there is like a little bit of a shining light here, and that little bit of hope is like the push against the pushback,
mm,
like the resistance. You know, it's like it's the similar thing with history. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's such a bummer," but no, the other side of it is like the pushback of resistance against all this shitty stuff. Like there are people actually doing the thing
mm.
that needs to be done to try to change it, and there's hope in that. I think.
Yeah, yeah. You see that. So sort of segueing into the tyranny part. You mentioned fascism before, so um, I won't have to spend 10 minutes educating you on what's happened in the last 10 years, but not that you would need it. But um, I'm curious when you set about making this new record, um, and then you finished with the record and mastered it and completed it and everything. Were you surprised by how much in the country or the world has changed? And especially to the extent that it might have, if you had seen what's happening now coming, would that have maybe provoked you guys to make a slightly different record?
Maybe not because I mean there are. I think the fifth song on the record is called "City Violenta." It's like an Italian violent
Yeah.
city name. That's it's kind of a play on an Italo Calvino book called Invisible Cities, where he's like says all of these cities that don't exist, and it's a story about Marco Polo talking to Kubla Khan. And it's pretty interesting,
Oh,
but it's actually about like ice and all that stuff. It's about people kidnapping your neighbors in the street, and the majority of the rest of the band lives in LA, and we do stuff there a lot. And I mean, I know it's all over the place, but when it finally hit, I guess in summer, it was like everywhere.
yeah.
And um, there's a lot of like fundraisers and stuff like that you can do, but it is like, and I'm saying this as a white guy, it's like um, the people that I grew up with and people that I'm friends with and I care about, those are those people. And um,
Yeah.
so I don't know if there would have ever been like a Trump specific song because I think that's built into it as like an administration that's like an interventionist administration. But like to
Right.
me, especially working in a school, it's like you have to protect these people that are from other countries that are just coming to learn here from this form of contemporary Gestapo. Like for real, I'm
Yeah.
not. I know that people like easily often make Nazis, but I mean you're really talking about they're pulling shit out of the same playbook at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I rewatched Downfall last week. You seen that? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just undeniable. I mean, this whole thing about like, oh, don't make Hitler comparisons. It's just we're beyond that. And you have to be blind not to see the resemblance.
I
Um,
mean we have bombed 10 countries since January.
fucking nuts, man. That's more than Biden in 8 years, I think they said.
I don't know.
Um,
It's funny to be. I'm not sure how old you are, but it's funny to be. I guess I'm an elder millennial, right? Because I was 18 in 2000. But
I'm
it's
75,
funny.
so that's cool.
No.
Sorry. Sorry.
It's funny to think about like just constant collapse and forever wars and everything that is just like happening. And now we're at a point where I was reading an article today that was in Foreign Affairs, and he used this term to describe the current administration as like a predatory hegemon, which I think is
Mm,
like
wow.
true. It's like there's no consideration of anybody, allies, enemies, Venezuela, Ecuador yesterday. It's like it doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah.
like people on the street, ICE stuff. It's to a point where it is there's much despair, but I mean, people are trying. I think
Yeah.
that counts.
I can't help but think a lot of the time. I can't help but think that when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, then Trump went on Fox Morning News the next day. The hosts of Fox News, which they're already an insane lot, um,
Yeah,
but they were saying like, we really need to come together as a country. And Trump called in and he said, I just don't care if people get along or not. He said it flat out. He's like, I don't care about unity. I want my side to win. And like to have that be the tenor of the country, um, it's
and then
just
to
terrifying.
like turn a podcaster that was like racist and super shitty into this like saint. I mean, you have half of the administration are podcasters.
Yeah.
Like and like in the worst connotation of that because they're just like weird right wing like what you would assume 15 years ago would be like some Alex Jones type people that would have no purchase outside of a basement, but then it just became the new normal is that like oh all those people now run the government in the most like dysfunctional way.
Totally. Yeah. And now like Alex Jones is kind of like on the side of some correct issues with conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean that's the nature of conspiracies. It's like
That's just
uh I always think of that like like a broken clock is right twice a day type of thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you don't have shit at the wall, sometimes it's gonna stick.
Yeah, that's true. So let me see what else we here get a little more
Let me
time.
say really fast in regard to the
Yeah.
title of the record is about this concept. It's like tear it on down is it's like
Oh,
it's about all this shit going on. It's like um, getting rid of it, and also all of the LP titles. One is the first one's called "Gotta Give It Up." The second one's called "Love Child," and this one's called "Tearing On Down." They're all like Motown songs, which is where those titles are from.
oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I was gonna get into that too. Was and again, I know you didn't write the lyrics, but there's a I'm gonna see if I can find it. There's a lyric in there that talks about like um it's all gonna come down, or it's all gonna be burned. What is it?
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's in that fifth song or fourth song, the City Violenta.
yeah, yeah. Which is a Charles Bronson thing, right? In that movie,
Oh yeah,
he's in
I'm I'm the movie guy. She refuses to watch movies.
But I was trying to, there's a bit of an interplay in the record, another one that's like tear everything down, but we have to rebuild and build something else up. So I was wondering, would it be too easy to call it an anarchist record, or is that accurate?
I think at the core, I can't think of another descriptor. I mean, it is about decentralized kind of like action or collectivism or whatever it might be. Like playing a show, and there's a Christmas show that we played, and one of my other bands played, and Tuna, who sings in Sweat, she does this like crass cover band at Christmas, and they raise a bunch of money for the community fridges in Hollywood and around LA, which is like cool.
Wow.
I think it's just acknowledging the reality that no one's going to do it but you,
Yep. Yep.
and it's like if you're waiting for some type of federal action. It's like it's being dismantled as we speak. And the state itself, in California in particular, it's like, what is your option? Gavin Newsom, who's out like clearing out unhoused encampments to like get a photo op. So, especially when you see like LA, that's kind of has a bunch of really interesting but kind of crazy history about it, anyways.
Sure. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's a more complicated than city than most people get credit for. So I do want to I hate when these things get cut off. We got about 5 minutes. I wanted to ask you there's a couple more questions here. Um,
Oh, you're talking about the Zoom. The call is going to end.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's okay. Um, but I wanted to to ask you like where do you think all this is going? Like, I mean, it's obviously extremely hard to tell, but I mean, you're obviously a very well read guy and you know, yeah, where do you think it's
I
going right now?
I think that there's a couple of kind of there's like a we're kind of beyond the pale right now, but I think that the the thing that Trump and the administration thinks that they can eternally get away with, I think, especially starting a bunch of these wars as an anti-war candidate, I think people are starting to turn against him in some ways and against like a war that appears to be being fought for Israel, you know, and I think that's spurring his supporters, especially like the big time, like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like those people are going on to being like, "What the fuck?" Like all this stuff is like not what we voted for, which in effect they did vote for. But like now it hit a point, and I think after 20 years of Afghanistan and whatever 8 years of Iraq too, like I don't think the U.S. has a stomach for another forever war.
Yeah, and one that's without any stated clear rationale yet. Personal belief is that he's doing it so that he can impose martial law when it comes to election time, or no,
Yeah,
no,
right.
not necessarily martial law, but you know what I mean, like ICE and stuff. Have you had any run-ins with ICE? Have you seen anything? Because you
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
it before.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're in the area that I live and in all over LA, and they were right when they came out in full force. They were like everywhere. They were like down the street. And they were over here, and they were people letting other people know, and it's a funny thing because they're trying to scare people, and then they're like, wait, none of these people are working because they don't want to leave their houses to get deported. Oh, our economy. Oh no, like I need. It's like, how do we get all these like white 16-year-olds to go work in a strawberry farm? Like, you never will, and that's another shitty thing that the consideration is like, how does this affect our economy? It's not like these are actual people.
Yeah.
And, you have to make the point, I try to make this point all the time, that the country is obviously a nation of immigrants. So if you're going to just pick and choose one that you decided because some English assholes created the country 200 years ago, that like, who cares? It's different now. And where I am, we're in an area that was used to be Mexico in 1848. So,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
how do you make that argument?
You're still in Huntington Beach then?
I live like north of there, but I work in Huntington Beach at a school
Okay.
there, at a college, and like, it's pretty crazy.
Yes, I see some news clips sometimes of like weird signs and people are protesting stuff that like wasn't even on my radar. It's kind of it's
The
kind
city council like they wanted to put up a big Charlie Kirk mural. They had like a Trump plaque in front of the city hall, but thankfully the college I'm at is like very progressive, and
of
there's training about what to do if ICE people come on campus, and we had cards for like students to get information. They didn't have to like self-report. It was like very supportive, which was good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if there's one positive, it seems like people are relearning what it means to be a part of a community. Not just in the trendy sense of the word, but actually to be helping your neighbors and telling, talking, communicating with people. So,
I know that this word is like in the punk scene kind of toxic, and I don't mean this in a traditional sense, but like
Mhm.
being critical of the state you live in because I mean country or whatever because you want it to be better, is like a positive thing. Like
Yeah,
because you would love it or leave it type of bullshit. And you're like, no, I'm like these things need to be fixed because there are good things here and there are good things in other places, but like let it all go to shit over some like internet politics.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And there are a lot of good places. And segueing to the conclusion here, you have a tour that starts March 27 in Riverside, goes
Hmm.
through April 12. And then you got another show, like a one-off show in May.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's in LA.
okay, cool.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff coming.
Cool. I want to talk with you again sometime about your label, if that's cool with you. And
Yeah.
let's stay in touch. This has been a great, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
cool.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was fun. Let me know anytime. I have like a funny schedule, so I can get on.
right on. Thanks, Justin. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a
Nice
good night,
meeting you.
man. Nice to meet you.
Later.
Okay.